Hello everybody, this is Alex from Hardcore Guides, being my guide for Dead Space on a possible difficulty. Today we're doing Chapter 5, entitled Lethal Devotion. This is going to be a shorter chapter than most, it seems, and on top of that, this is actually a pretty fun chapter for what it's worth. And if you couldn't tell by the name, this is also the chapter that does the, what do you call it? Pretty much like shutting off the oxygen, like, you know, gassing up the entire ship, and you have to, like, you know, go turn it off. It only happens for like one part of the segment, but still. Also included is going to be the Regenerator, as he's known, and I'll show you how I deal with, you know, such a fiend once we get to that part later. Of course, most of that's not going to happen until like quite a bit later in this episode, maybe like halfway through or whatever. So yeah, let me think here. I'm trying to think where we're at and where we're going right now off the top of my head. I just edited the video, and I'm already having troubles remembering what the heck happens in the beginning. I think in here, I think a couple of lurkers spawn. Yeah, there they are. So once you come back in here through this chapter, of course, because, you know, everything in Dead Space is kind of chapter based on in terms of like where enemies are going to be spawning at and what have you. A couple lurkers kind of spawn in, so, you know, take them out as you see fit. This is also the same chapter where I'm going to finally buy the Force Gun. I remember that I bought that. So I will buy the Force Gun, and I will get an upgrade for it. So there's going to be a node that's going to have to be used for that one, of course. But that comes later. I think there's a stasis thing behind me, or am I mistaken that? I might be wrong. I could have sworn there was one, but maybe I glanced over it like an idiot and just kind of forgot about it being there. But yeah, we came into this room a couple of chapters ago. This was, of course, a node door. But, you know, once you activate one node door, then pretty much it's good to go for, you know, the rest of the game, which is nice. And then in terms of what I upgrade, I can't remember. Okay, it was the rig. I started upgrading the rig. Okay, that's what it was. It's kind of nice that the rig at least gives you one upgrade that you can have, like one actual full upgrade. You know, one power node upgrade. But other than that, like, you kind of have to upgrade everything else. You have to, you know, make a pathway through it. So over here is going to be a Guardian, and that's why I grabbed that explosive barrel, is because, you know, I knew this guy was going to be over here, and I was going to take him out as see fit. If you need some help with taking out Guardians, explosives work pretty well. Force Gun, grenade launcher works pretty okay. Flamethrower, flame wall, I haven't tried it myself, the secondary fire. I haven't tried it myself in terms of OG Dead Space, but I do know that in Dead Space Remake it works out pretty damn well against Guardians. Like, pretty dang well, actually. So, Flamethrower is pretty good against them. Don't get too close, though, because you'll get, you know, decapitated. It'll be an insta-kill. That's just something that just seems to be a thing for some strange reason. I don't know why they decided to do that, but it is what it is. Good thing we have some stasis up here, and, you know, I could just folly around and just get some more if I need it. Unfortunately, you kind of have to wait for that stuff to cool down, which kind of sucks, but hey, you know, it is what it is. Also, since there's, like, not too much going on right now, in other news, I have actually started and finished recording a next guide that's going to be happening. And I mentioned it in the last video, and if anybody has any ideas, I'm not going to, like, just spoil it right away, at least until the end. I gave some clues, so hopefully I figured that would be enough to get people to start guessing and be like, what could it possibly be? But if you have any idea what you think it might be, you know, you could always, you know, comment or whatever. You don't have to. I'm just saying, you know, for funsies. But yeah, get ready for that. It's going to be 10 episodes, I believe. So, and like I said, it's going to be a hack and slash, so we're going back to that again. And I'll give you another hint. It's not Transformers Devastation. I can give you that. It's actually, you know, from a different franchise. So get ready to see more of it. And I'm so glad I got to finish it. I finished it in one day. Anyway, so Regenerator time. So what I do is well, stasis him first, but then I run up in melee. And I kind of made the mistake of using stasis too early because I forgot that he has like an animation of him basically being protected. So when he comes out of the glass, you kind of want to wait for him to start moving before you can start attacking, because he's still in that animation of having iframes and everything, and it's just, you know, a bunch of mess. So I go for the legs, mainly just to kind of stop him from walking and running. He doesn't really necessarily run or sprint at you. He just kind of, like, you know, walks relatively, like, fast. And, yeah, I just, I use stasis, and then I just stomp him down, as much as I possibly can. I try not to waste ammo too much on the regenerator, mainly because because he's going to come back anyway. And it just seems like kind of like a waste of time to kind of mess with that. Now, I'm not sure what this edit was for. I mean, I know I died on the swarmers, but I'm trying to think of what mistake I must have. I mean, I don't know why I decided to go backwards. Yeah, this is weird. I don't know why I'm doing this. I have a way. Maybe. Oh, I think I'm thinking of this. I'm going for stasis. That's what I'm doing. Yeah, I don't have any stasis on me, so I was trying to, like, run back and get some more. But there's going to be some swarmers that are going to come up. If you don't have stasis, you can just dodge them like that and just run straight for the door if you can get lucky enough. If you do happen to have stasis on hand, that's great, because then you could use the stasis to take out the swarmers. That's something I should probably also talk about real quick, too, is when you're fighting the regenerator, don't use stasis too much. Use, like, a couple of shots, and then, if you have to, if you can't, melee his legs off in time, then go for some, good plasma cutter shots or whatever, and just knock off his legs. That's mainly the thing you want to go for, is you want to take out those legs. That way he stops, moving in too close to you. And you want to keep at least, maybe potentially, a stasis, like a stasis shot for the swarmers, because it'd just be a lot easier to deal with them and not have to worry about them. Unless, you're like me and you got extremely lucky and you kind of hugged that little wall there when we're running past them, and you were able to get by without getting attacked. Because a lot of the time, they kind of just jump forward and leap toward you. So, you can dodge swarmer attacks. It's just, it can be kind of hard, especially since they're, like, so damn small, you don't know where they're going to go. So next room, we've been in this room before, of course. And now the only problem is Regenerator is going to pop up, and alongside that is going to be some other fiends that we're going to have to deal with, and, the power is out as well. So we're going to have to deal with all that crap. We can't do anything. We have to take out all the main enemies first before we can go. So, of course, once again, bringing it up again, but the remake changes it to where the power node key is actually out of the socket and you have to put it back in. So you don't have to technically fight everybody, I don't think. But in this one, you pretty much do. So I come back in this room to kind of just have a hidey-ho once again. And pretty much just to kind of lead the regenerator. Now do be careful though, because if you do run in this room and you have no clear sight of enemies, they could potentially pop up in that room from, like, the vent. So that's something to kind of keep in mind too, is you want to be very careful of that. And another thing is, as you saw earlier, I went to the shop. I didn't have money for it, but I was going for the force gun. So if you're capable of buying the force gun now, that's going to help you out a ton. I wouldn't make it like priority number 1, but, if it's something that you wanted to do, if you wanted to go get your secondary gun, whatever it could be that you feel comfortable with, then, now would be a good time. At least this chapter would be a good time to kind of go and do that. So. Also, I noticed that I forgot an item back in that room, in that locker room that I was just at, where I was, using that hidey-ho. And to explain that hidey-ho just a little bit more, I was using it to kind of lure the regenerator into that room, alongside, and then after that, like, I'd stasis him or whatever. But alongside that, I'm trying to, like, make a choke point, so that way, enemies can sort of form a line in front of that doorway, and then I can take them out. Also, of course, grab the save. Make sure you saved that explosive barrel for this Guardian. I probably should have said that ages ago, but I kind of forgot to probably mention that. I might have mentioned it, I don't know, but if you have an explosive barrel, at least that one particularly, that would be a good use on the Guardian, because you could just take him out instantly. If you don't have an explosive barrel on hand, then you're just going to have to take out all the arms, as you see fit. So, it sucks that you have to do it if you don't have explosive barrel, but, it's just it's the rules of the game, So, I don't make the rules, I'm sorry. If I did, then the Guardians wouldn't exist. I can tell you that right goddamn right now. Fuck those guys. I hate Guardians so much. It's mainly the pods, really, that kind of get to me. Because, like, the Guardians themselves just kind of stay there. They don't do anything. It's mainly the pods that they shoot out that just annoys the hell out of me. So, I did die, and I'm not sure if any of the items have respawned or despawned. So I'm not 100% sure on that. I believe that they should have respawned. Some of them did. I'm not sure if all of them did. Because Dead Space has a thing where, like, items can sort of have, like, RNG to them. And sort of inside, like, certain boxes and such. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. If you want to get, like, a specific item out of a box or whatever, then that's something you could do, is just kind of, like, restart your checkpoint or whatever. And, you know, use that to kind of get whatever item you could possibly get, or change up the RNG. So, first of all, I don't deal with the swarmers. We're running out of air. I do have an air tank on hand, but my main mission is to get the hell out of here and not deal with the Necros. But unfortunately, I have to deal with the Necros. There is an O2 tank right over here. And of course, there was one back there. I didn't grab it because the regenerator's like right on my ass, and I'm not going to deal with him. So, first thing I do is I take out the, pregnants, I shoot them in the legs, and then eventually the arms. It just seems to be like the best way of, for me, taking them out. And pretty much just don't worry about the regenerator, especially if you don't have stasis. Then it's just kind of pointless. If he's getting too close, then yeah, wail on him and take down his legs. But by now you should probably have at least enough air to kind of get you from, that one area to the next. And if you need air, then of course you can use it. But basically, if the enemies are getting a little too rough and you're struggling trying to get past them, then don't fight them. Just run past them and don't worry about them. That's something else you can do, of course. Is basically just decide, nope, I'm not dealing with them today, and then just don't even bother. Kind of like what I did with the lurkers, because I'm like, I'm running away from the regenerator, I'm not dealing with this. And the cool thing is, the regenerator can't run in here. He can't come into this room, so you're pretty much safe inside of this room. Now, no other necromorphs have ever spawned in this room that I've seen, so I'm not 100% sure that this is guaranteed absolutely safe for a room, but I feel like it's pretty dang close to being called one. I went back to try to fight the lurker, but I found out the regenerator just decided to stay there, so there's that. I'm not going to bother with him. And time to go into the next area, and of course use the Cairo, or the liquid nitrogen, to freeze him and take him down for good. Of course, a second regenerator spawns, and also this door. I don't know what's up with that door and why it does that. It makes no sense why it just did that to me, and it didn't freak me out. It just kind of made me think like, oh, it's a stasis door. I got a stasis. I don't have any stasis. What the hell am I supposed to do? And then I found out like, oh, okay, I think it's just a jump scare or something. I don't know. Oh, there's the swarmers. Good thing I noticed them. If you have flamethrower, then yeah, it's great against them, but if you don't, you're pretty much, if you're like me right now, where you have like the force gun, you could just use this. I don't know why I bothered using grenade launcher first, but nah. I should have just used the primary fire, because it made more sense to use that, actually. So, even though I just bought the gun, I'm going to actually upgrade it and get, I think, what was it, capacity and damage? Damage especially. I definitely want damage on force gun as quickly as humanly possible. For those that are also wondering why I keep looking in that little hole, I keep thinking there's a schematic in there, but I'm pretty sure I'm getting it mixed up with Dead Space 2. So, because there's a point in time, and spoiler alert for Dead Space 2, quick spoiler, you go back to the Ishimura, but it's, coated in, like, the medical, like, hazmat things, or whatever it was called. I can't remember, like, those white walls that they covered it in. It's pretty cool. Dead Space 2 is great. Dead Space 2 is great. In my opinion, I think it's probably, like, the best Dead Space in terms of just, like, action and just straightforward, gameplay. But that's my own opinion. I love Dead Space 1, and I absolutely love the remake. And 3 is just kind of... I haven't played it enough to really say whether or not I like it that much. But when I did play it, I wasn't having too much fun with it. But it's been a while since I've gone back. I kind of played it just to kind of get over with, because I knew, at some point I want to finish it. And, well, that was the day I did, so there's that. Yeah, it took me years to finish. Mainly because I just didn't like the beginning sections. I just didn't care for them. I don't know. I'm weird, okay? I'm weird. I don't know. And then I used to believe in the hate. That was the thing I used to do a lot back then when I was younger, was I would always end up believing everything everyone said online about, specific games. I'm turning up the brightness again just for my own sake. This was because, once again, something I should have realized, during that section was, hey, it's Elgato and not actually the game. But I didn't notice that the game was already bright enough. It's bright enough, really. It really is. It's just, Elgato is so damn dark. I wish I could prove it to you guys, but it's kind of hard to do that unless I would have to use a combination of, like, Elgato and OBS, but even then, I don't think OBS can open with it. So, anyway, alright, regenerator time. Shoot him, like, in the leg. At least a leg. Going for both would kind of help. If you take off all of his limbs, then he has to regrow every single limb, so it takes more time for him to actually regrow it. But if you happen to have stasis at a relatively good, decent amount of duration, then it should be just enough. Even, like, a low-level duration should be enough to kind of just get him stuck in there and be able to freeze him. Now, of course, if you come into this room, you're not going to be completely safe because there's going to be lurkers out here. So just keep on your toes. I should have been more, forewarned before I did this, but I was being kind of dumb and silly and forgot that they could get in there. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. Why did I not stomp him? Why did I not stomp him? I just noticed, too, like, come on, man, there was an item. Also, I could have sworn there was an item that appears from the regenerator, but I don't think there is unless you have to stomp him, too. It could be. Could be the case. Well, whatever, you guys can check if you want, but it's too late for me. I already run past all this. But luckily, I did beat the game, so it's not like, it's going to kill me completely, but still. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for Chapter 7. I don't think there's much left besides, like, a few monies. I don't even think there's a store I can go to, so yeah, that's it for this episode. See you guys in Chapter 6, and as always, take care, everybody.